To Labour, the Shadow Cabinet met yesterday to decide whether to back a wholehearted Remain position, and it wasn't entirely conclusive. There's a surprise. Let's speak to Michael Chesham. He's a Labour activist who wants the party to back Remain. Are you worried that Jeremy Corbyn is now stringing you along on this issue?
I don't think it's that Jeremy Corbyn's stringing us along. I think it was disappointing that the Shadow Cabinet didn't move the position more clearly on Wednesday. I think it's likely to move next week. It's kind of inevitable that Labour will end up being an anti-Brexit party. Look, we're organising a wave of motions to Labour Party conference in September, and we're going to deliver a huge mandate there for a clear anti-Brexit position, for an unequivocal backing of freedom of movement, and for a radical programme to sort of transform Europe. So really, it's delaying the inevitable for Labour to string this out any longer.
And I understand, you know, it looks like the tide is with you in the Labour Party on this. More people coming round to your point of view. But as you've said, you're not there yet. So who is the roadblock to reform?
Well, look, I think it's pretty clear that the overwhelming majority of Labour members want the party to move.
No, we know that. I'm asking you who's holding that up. If it's not Jeremy Corbyn, who's holding it up?
Well, look, I think the honest answer is that it's very difficult to actually tell, because the people who are holding it up are, to be frank, not that accountable. It's very clear that John McDonnell, Diane Abbott, Keir Starmer, Emily Thornberry, even Jeremy himself, not necessarily an enthusiast for a fresh public vote, but certainly willing to go there.
So who are the people holding it up then? If you know them, who are they?
Well, look, I don't want to get into a name calling. Look, the Labour Party is going to end up
name calling. I'm simply asking you who you think you're on the wave of an inevitable trend. There are people holding it up. It hasn't happened yet. I'm asking you who are they, if not Jeremy Corbyn?
Well, look, I think there are senior unelected people at the heart of the Labour machine. I think the Labour Party's got a problem, has got a problem with machine politics.
Who are they?
And I think they need to...
All right, Chuka Amuna will throw out some names and see if you agree. Chuka, just name one.
Len McCluskey's
all right, Len McCluskey, is he holding it up?
Yeah, look, I think it's a real shame. Look, I'm a member of Unite.
But is he holding it up?
Yeah, look, I think the role that Len McCluskey's played in this has been a problem.
All right, so we got Len McCluskey, a bit like blood out of stone here. What about Seamus Milne, the head of Mr. Corbyn's office?
I'm sorry. No, this isn't blood out of a stone. This is about me wanting to talk about the actual politics of the situation.
Yeah, but I'm trying to work out who's stopping you.
Well, fine, and I think you can ask whoever you want to give that answer. The important thing here is the politics of the situation. We're about to enter a period in which a hard right-wing Conservative Prime Minister is going to try to drag us out of the EU without a deal or on a hard deal basis, with no mandate, and we have to resist that, and Labour has to resist that. That's the political discussion that we need to be having here.
And what you want in response to that, as I understand, I think you're on the record, is a summer of mass occupations, disruptive protests and wildcat strike action. Is that right?
Well, yeah. Look, I think we are now in a position where a hard deal Brexit... We need to be clear about what a hard deal or a no deal Brexit means.
No, we know what that is. I'm asking you what your actions are going to be. Do you think that wildcat strike action...
I'm really more than happy to get to it.
Or mass occupation...
Yes, you're right. You know that I'm on the record, so why are you interrupting me?
Do you think that's a way to win hearts and minds?
Well, I mean, actually, there is a long tradition in Britain of protest, of disruptive, of quite radical protest, when governments take decisions in a completely unaccountable way. We're about to enter a period where we're going to get an extreme right-wing Tory Prime Minister trying to wreck communities and open up the NHS to privatisation via trade deals with Trump's America, with almost no, in fact, no popular mandate. Under those circumstances, I think people have the right to take civil disobedience and to take all non-violent action that they can to attempt to disrupt that extreme agenda.
I understand the logic of your case and what you plan to do or hope to do. Who's going to organise these mass occupations and wildcat strike action?
Well, look, I think we've got a really interesting situation. We've had 1 million people march against Brexit. We've had hundreds of thousands of people march against Trump. We've got a very active anti-Brexit movement. We've also just had Extinction Rebellion take place. I think all of the ingredients for a big summer or a big wave of a serious direct action protest movement are there. They need to be brought together, and it's up to the leadership of the Brexit movement,
Okay.
of the anti-Brexit movement, but also
Right.
but also of the Labour movement to start to put these pieces together and show some serious concerted opposition.
The big anti-Brexit march in London, which was in a very British tradition of a massive peaceful march, which was all planned and didn't disrupt anything. And I watched that on television and looked at the faces and the people. Do you think these are the people who will take wildcat strike action?
I think it's certainly something that we should be willing to consider. Look, I think that if you've got a situation where you're in a situation where a government is going to wreck communities, wreck the future of the country and wreck public services with no mandate, I think it's absolutely legitimate to have a conversation about where the boundaries of dissent end. And the boundaries of dissent don't just end at passive A to B marches. We've got a long history of passive A to B marches.
Okay.
They have their role in protest movements. But actually, I think, yes, we've got to be willing to look towards more radical measures.
Okay. Well,
if you've got an opposite side, the Tory party, bent on a pretty hardcore...
We need to leave it there. Michael Chesham, thanks for that. Let us know if there are going to be any strikes, because lots of people are going off with their families on holiday, and they would probably like to know if you're going to disrupt their planes. But thank you for joining us, and we'll see if we are in for a summer of discontent. We're now joined by Simon Hoare. He is a Sajid Javid supporter. Welcome to the programme. You've got the Sajid Javid badge.
I sleep in it, Andrew.
What you do in the privacy of your own attic is really none of our business. So, it's a race now between Mr Hunt and Mr Gove. Mr Javid will be leaving this race in about 4 minutes' time, correct?
I don't know that. I hope not.
I know you hope not, but he will be.
Well, I don't know. Let's wait and see what
But if he
Cheryl
does,
Gillen or Charles Walker announces.
If he does,
we have fought a very positive campaign. I think it has picked up momentum. Remember, just a few weeks ago, lots of colleagues were saying that Saj didn't have the support to even get onto the ballot, and here we are down into round 4 in the last 4. Anything can happen. I'm hopeful.
I know you're hopeful.
You have to be an optimist in this game.
If though the likely happens, and look, we love surprises. You may be right,
We do.
I may be wrong. But if I'm right, who will you back in the ballot this afternoon?
Well, we've only got a few moments to wait, Andrew. Let's just wait and see what the result is. I may this afternoon be going into room 14, which is what I hope to be doing, to vote for Sajid Javid.
Right, but once he's knocked out in now about 3 minutes, will you tell us after that?
See, you're countering my optimism with your pessimism.
No, I'm just really teasing you to pass the time.
You're teasing me. I will take that decision
Liz,
if I have
you've
to.
been close up front in this. If Mr Javid is knocked out, do his votes go on block somewhere, or do they go all over the place?
I think they could potentially go all over the place. But I think the interesting thing will be, there has been some discussion of the fact that Boris Johnson, if he is up to some skullduggery, could be passing votes to Sajid Javid to get rid of Michael Gove at this stage. So that would be a really interesting thing to see if
Does that sort of thing happen?
I mean, who knows? People tell me it doesn't, but I think the evidence is to the contrary. But I have to say that Sajid has run a very good campaign, and he's put himself in a really good position if he does go out in the next few minutes. He's been touted around at the moment for Chancellor. He set out some really good, interesting policy proposals for rebalancing the UK economy. And so I think he's done really well throughout the campaign.
OK. We are almost coming up to 1 o'clock. We say goodbye to viewers watching on BBC Two. BBC Two is now going to be showing the tennis at Queen's. But if you want to continue with the Tory leadership race and find out the next result, continue to watch us on the BBC News channel.
Just test it's working, that. Ah! Yeah, it's working, Martin. Go! I'm not touching the sign!